Alright, well, I've started recording then. So, this would be session 0, number 3, my Ravnica campaign. Today we have Sean and his bard, Sean. Basic backstory is, well, he doesn't have a tragic backstory. Except for after his grandma died, he decided to go adventuring, but he's a very studious and very entertaining bard.
True.
So, I always start everyone off with their level. It's like your backstory. Everyone I've been asking them to do about a level 2-ish backstory. So, your 2 through, 7-ish life. I'm gonna throw it here. You're gonna, well, since you're goody two shoes, helping people and playing music and going on quests. You're from Neverwinter, so there's a lot of stuff to do in Neverwinter. You can easily find an adventuring party and go be a adventurous bard, saving people and killing
Hunting
some small,
things,
killing
family
some,
business.
yeah, killing some no-name necromancers and cults out in the wilderness, stopping a few bandit settlements here and there. You know, all the good stuff. Then I'm going to have your goody two shoes guy go on a quest because I have to put you through a traumatic experience. So I gotta give you a generic traumatic quest experience.
Alright.
And the best generic quest experience is to go fight the dragon cult.
The dragon cult.
Because that always involves a dragon that you were not expecting, but it's in the name, yet you weren't expecting a dragon. You were just expecting cultists.
Right. Okay.
You roll to seduce the dragon to buy time for your party to escape. The dragon is busy laughing at your attempt to seduce him, and your party escapes, but then he fire breaths you.
How badly am I damaged?
You're damaged to the point where you're pretty much about to die, but instead of burning to death, you feel like you've been electrocuted. And then you're moving very fast. And, well, the last thing you remember before blacking out is a lot more electricity. And then you come to in the very awkward room. By awkward, I mean it's not a bed. It's more like you're on a table. There's a bright light in your face. It's kind of squinting at it. You're looking around and you're not strapped down, but there's a whole bunch of tools off to the left and the right that look like someone might have thought about dissecting you if you didn't wake up.
Alright. Alright.
You're in a very you're confused because this is the first time you're from Neverwinter, so you've seen some interesting things, but the table seems to be made out of metal, and so is the floor and the walls. You're like, oh my god, everything is made out of metal. This is quite a lot of smithing work. Even the chairs seem to be made out of metal, but then they're padded with leather, obviously for comfort.
This is some fancy shit.
Very fancy shit. There's a huge chemist's table on the other side of the room as well. And then
I get off the table.
Yep. There's a window, and then there's a door that's shut on your room, and then there's basically a table with a bunch of chairs around it, and off to the left is like where I'd say the chemist set is at. And then I said someone looked like they were dissecting you, but they wouldn't like have them prepared to dissect you. But if you look to the right, there's like like a wall full of like dissection tools and mechanical tools basically.
Okay. All right.
So
I go
you were
look up.
basically asleep on someone's workbench for the most part, but you don't know whether or not you were going to be dissected, or if someone just didn't have anywhere to put you and threw you on the workbench.
Or autopsied, or um.
Yes, and you're
Are
not
there?
sure how the light works. You're looking up, but it's not a torch. It looks to be a glass sphere with electrical current or with electricity. What looks like electricity running through it, making it bright. You can see it visibly, electricity running through it. So it's not like an actual light
Right.
bulb. It's
It's
like a
literal
bar.
electricity.
It's like a ball with literal electricity in it.
I I poke it.
You poke it. It's
Yes.
cool to the touch. That's odd. You think it would be hot.
Interesting. Okay, I go to the window and I look out the window.
All right. You get to the window, and the window is, left and right, like crisscross bars. And you peer out in the window, and it gets even more disturbing because it looks more like you see a whole bunch of like large buildings and spires, and several of these buildings have these large rods on top of them. And apparently, there's a storm going on, and these rods are constantly getting struck by lightning. Left, right, and it's like several like spires pretty much going out as far as you can see. And then there seems to be walkways in between each of the buildings. It's dark out. You showed up at nighttime apparently, or at least wherever you're at. Maybe the overcast from the sky. It's dark, so
Okay.
you can't quite see, except for these large spires. So it'd be like,
Okay. Being disturbed and disoriented from the view, he looks over at the chemist table and he's familiar with it, so he goes over and tinkers.
You find out they've been working on Most of this stuff is weird. The main thing they've been working on is this weird liquid substance. It's very very viscous, almost like honey, but it's almost a solid. It's blue.
Hmm.
Would you like to touch it?
Yes, I
When you
touch it.
touch it, it moves away from your finger.
I quickly grab it.
It avoids your grab as best as it can, but after a few seconds, you manage to grab this jelly substance that seems very unhappy with the fact that you have grabbed it, as it attempts to slime its way out of your hands.
I lick it.
It tastes like blueberries.
Ooh.
And acid.
And ah,
But like,
ah,
but like that, but
ah.
like, but like that acid, like if you put your tongue on like a battery, like where it kind of
You get
like,
that little shock.
yeah, it could, that ting. You're like,
Yeah.
blueberries, blah, painful.
Painful blueberries.
Yeah. The thing squirms itself free from your hands, and then goes and cowers under the table.
I kind
to
of
get to
squat
it from underneath
down.
it.
Yeah, I kind of squat down and I say, "It's okay, little guy. I'm not gonna hurt. I know I'm bigger than you, but I'm not gonna hurt you."
It kind of gives you the
I'm,
you tried to eat. It kind of gives you without its no eyes or mouth. It gives you try to eat me, and then it squeezes through a
I,
crack in the wall, and it is gone.
no, wait, no, come back. I wasn't trying to eat you.
It didn't say
Oh
that. It
well.
just kind of gave you the. It just kind of jiggled at you angrily.
That must be jam because jelly don't shake like that.
So
All
you
right.
still gonna mess around?
Yeah, I'm gonna take a look at the tools that are on the table. the
there's a
two
whole bunch
tables
of
that are next to the big. Yeah.
There's a mixture of tools that you recognize and a lot of tools that you have never seen before. The stuff you recognize would be, I mean, even if you didn't actually weren't a smith, you can recognize smithing tools, jewelry tools, tools for delicate work, things like clockmakers tools, things like that. You can recognize these. But then there are some tools that you have no idea what they're used for. You you can only imagine.
I tried the door.
You get to the door. The door is unlocked.
I open it.
You open
And
the
I step
door.
out.
When you open the door, there seems to be a railing that leads out. Like it's kind of like instead of like a walkway, it's like if you I don't know if you've ever been like in a submarine or in like a boat where they have like the walkway which is kind of railed off. But technically there's nothing on the left or right to overlook until you go like 10, 20 feet down the railing, and then you can overlook to the right, and it appears to be a lab. And
So there's just a guy standing there.
from as you get up to the lab, you notice like how those spires were laid out in the from outside the view. It looks like a miniature version of that, but these spires seem to contain each spire contains a different liquid in it, and they're all like arcing electricity from each one of them to a giant ball in the ceiling. And off to the right, you see goblins. One of them is tinkering with a chemist set. The one on the left seems to be working on some form of construct you're unsure of. And then you look at the other one that seems to be hurriedly carrying several supplies off to the left, but you can't quite see because of these giant spire things. You'd have to move up further.
Okay. What kind of feelings do I feel when I see these goblins? Do I feel like
you're a pretty
anger,
studious.
fear?
I mean, you would be a typical like adventurer. So goblins are the goblins. So I mean, most of your run-ins with goblins haven't been that good. But I mean, they're not brandishing weapons and yelling, and it's very odd that you see them working on things that you would consider would require smart people to do.
Okay. Second question. I forgot to ask this, but am I wearing clothes?
You're wearing what you originally set out on adventure with.
Okay. So do I have
minus any of your weapons?
Okay, minus my weapons. Okay.
They left your instrument. They didn't see that as a weapon.
Okay. Well, I like having my instrument.
Yeah, but I'm just telling you that they weren't like yes, just confiscated the weapons.
Okay.
You're gonna keep going up a little further because you go down a little further. Seems to be a metal staircase going down, spiral staircase. Graded spiral staircase.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go down it. I will.
Oh, by the way, it's loud in here. By the way, I don't know if I had to tell you the crackling of the electricity from those spires. It's loud in here. It's they don't hear you walking on this walkway, by the way, because it's loud.
Okay.
They haven't been alerted to your presence.
Well,
that and they seem to be very into their work.
Okay. Okay. I want to disguise myself with polymorph. To disguise myself as one of these goblins, if possible. I don't have disguise self, otherwise I'd use that.
So you don't have disguise self.
No.
You're level 7. You have polymorph already.
Yeah, you get 4th level spells at level 7.
Can't you? Polymorph lets you turn someone into you can turn one into whatever you want temporarily,
Okay.
right?
Right. Yeah, up to an hour.
Yeah. So yeah, that'll work.
Okay.
You can turn yourself into a goblin, no problem.
Alright, yeah, I do that.
Cool. So then, so you're gonna matching lab coats and everything?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds good. So you're gonna go down that spiral staircase then?
Yes.
When you get to the bottom of the spiral staircase, you see where that goblin was running to. He runs over to. You're gonna say gentleman, but then you look at it, and you're like, remember that weird jelly substance you were messing with earlier? This person seems to be made of it.
Huh.
And they're standing full humanoid, and they appear to be, it's hard to describe without giving you a picture. Let me get a picture for you. Let me get it for you, Malik. Where's he at?
Now, me, the player, would recognize this as a weird.
As a magic player, yes.
The character.
Yes,
as a magic player.
As a magic player.
The character is like, what the fuck?
Yeah, because this is what 1 second. Come on now, there you go. Because you see basically this. Let me get it for you so you can. I just had to save the picture, and now I have to find it in my tabs. There you go. You basically see this guy. Although it's not the same person in the card, but you basically see this.
Okay. Alright.
Yeah.
So not exactly the same, but same same race.
So yeah, same race. Well, there's a little bit of, you'll find out exactly who he is in a second.
Okay.
But you get down, and he was apparently bringing this gentleman. The only difference is, of course, he's probably wearing the same, pretty much about the same gear on. The only difference is it seems to be, whereas on that card it's more bulky, his is much more slender, more streamlined. Almost like an upgraded version of the armor, where it would be less clunky,
Okay. Alright.
And they appear to be working on, well, kind of a mix of I guess you could say an experiment using all this lightning. It seems to be, they seem to be gathering data, taking notes, calculating things.
So these people are highly intelligent.
They're spouting off. They're spouting off fucking numbers you ain't even quantified yet. They're talking about joules and gigawatts and.
So
the influx parameters affecting the Tesla coils of the blah blah blah.
Flux capacitor.
Flux overheating. Jargon. And the goblin's like, yes, but I already recharged this and that, and then I reloaded the capacitor too with so and so fluid and fuel. They're going back and forth on. Apparently, the weird jelly gentleman is kind of perturbed that his experiment isn't quite matching his hypothesis. It seems to be annoying him. They still haven't noticed you yet because again it's loud and they're pretty into their work at the moment.
All right. So like my mind is just like blown. I stare around and I just stand there. Do I notice like anything specific other than these weird creatures?
For this lab? Aside from what I've already described to you, like though that one goblin off in the corner working on the chemistry set, and the one on the other corner working on some form of construct. You've never seen a warforged. You live from Neverwinter, so I can't quite give you an example of what you would think it would be. But it seems to be working on some form of like metal man almost.
Metal man.
Yeah, pretty much.
I keep walking around.
All right. Are you trying to stay close to the, or are you trying not like? Are you trying to like?
Not to be like. Trying to not be like too suspicious, but I'm trying to keep my distance without looking like I'm trying to keep my distance.
Gotcha. So you're attempting to be sneaky.
Yeah.
So you're gonna look around and look closer at what these guys are working on, or are you gonna try to see if you can get to the exit?
I'm gonna look for an exit.
Alright. You notice that the only exit would be on the other side of, you look around, the only exit would be on the other side of said weird jelly gentleman and his man. On where they would be looking at is where, the exit seems to be. You see several other windows lining the side of the building, but that turns to be another door, which could be an exit.
Okay. I walk towards it.
Alright, you start walking towards the door, and as you start walking towards the hallway, the weird, since we know what that is, the weird, he kind of looks down and says, "Laz, bring me the thermoconductors." And he's like, "Right away, boss." And then he turns and sees you. And you're like, "I'm blending in." And he goes, "Who are you?" And then Malik's like, and then the weird turns around, "Laz, what are you talking about? It's me. It's the same." He turns around and sees you, and he's like, "Who are you?" So both of them are standing there looking at you.
It's me, Clark.
Clark?
Yeah.
Laz, do you know a Clark? What do I look like?
What?
Someone who actually spends time with my family? Ha! Like, I don't know anyone named Clark. And I doubt Lizzie and Gizzy know anything. And he's like, "Oh, that's true." He's like, "Wait. We've been looking at the door the whole time. That means they have been here with us." Ah! And then he looks at you, and then like he goes to wave his hand, and then he's like, "What's with that silly disguise?" And then he snaps his fingers, and your polymorph is rewarded.
Oh shit.
And he's like, "There's no need for disguises. I see you are awake."
I start.
And he's like, "Lizzie, Gizzy, he's awake." And then Gizzy stops working on. The first one he called was Lizzie. Lizzie turns around and goes, "Damn it! I don't get to dissect him then." And then Gizzy's like, "Ha! You owe me lunch now."
You were going to dissect me?
Only if you didn't wake up. You were asleep for 5 days.
5 days?
Yes.
I
was quite curious. I had never gotten to dissect a planeswalker before.
Plane? What's a planeswalker?
And that's when the weird's like, See, I told you it was his first time. Because normally they're just supposed to take a long rest or sleep, and then bam. And Laz is like, that's only because that's what Ral tells you. And he's like, But, he is a planeswalker, so I assume that's how it worked for everyone. But he did tell me that when he first did it, it was quite disorienting.
What are you talking about?
He's like, you seem to be the studious type. What do you know about the planes?
I know that there's a multitude of planes.
See,
I
and then he
know
goes,
that
well, a planeswalker is someone who can, at will, travel between the planes. They have a very distinct energy signature and
I always
method of
thought that
teleportation.
plane travel is difficult from where I'm from. Typically.
See, he's like, I'm not a planeswalker. And, well, study on planeswalkers is not my forte. That would be something to do with Saris's work. All I can tell you is that it has something to do with something called a spark. And it only ignites when you're in trouble. And, that's why you're here. You're not from this plane, obviously. You're welcome to Ravnica.
Last thing I remember is a lot of electricity.
Oh,
after
yes.
Getting blasted with fire by a dragon.
Oh, a fight with a dragon. I dare say that's enough to trigger a few jolts in the system. He's like, oh, where are my manners? My name is Malik 2. I am the upgraded version of the previous Malik who had flaws with his form and staying stabilized.
What
out of character or out of game, Malik, the original Malik, was killed by Ral Zarek because during the Dragon's Maze event when we returned to Ravnica, Malik was going to be the maze runner, but then Ral Zarek messed up his stabilizer, so he destabilized and died. So this is basically Malik 2.0.
Alright.
Because I really like the card Malik, so I just made Malik 2.0 since he's technically dead.
Malik's a great commander and a great card, too.
Yeah, so I thought, I'll revive Malik and give him a personality. Here you go. Since you play Magic the Gathering, I thought you would find that interesting, so I wanted to go ahead and...
I like it. I like it. And Izzet's actually my favorite guild.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's why I was asking you, because you were studious. You were either going to end up being dropped on the Simic, the Azorius, or here in the Izzet. So that's what the questions were originally for.
Gotcha. Yeah, Izzet's my favorite guild.
Yeah.
So
how do you think I've done so far experimenting with the Izzet?
I love it.
Okay. We'll continue going. So yeah, he's like, by the way, my name is Malik 2. And I am in charge of this here lab. This is my right-hand assistant. And those two are, well, Gizzy is maintenance and Lizzie helps us with more of the, chemistry side of things. I typically deal with the more theoretical, electrical, and thermal side of things.
Mr. Malik, did you say?
Yes, Malik.
What are you? We don't have creatures like you where I'm from.
He's like, I'm like a form. I would be like an elemental, but an artificially created elemental. It's kind of awkward to describe.
What do they call your kind?
We're called weirds. Isn't that weird?
Well, that's astute, I would say.
But we're basically living slime. But we're not gelatinous cubes.
Oh, I can't stand those things.
Yes. I'm not acidic to the touch, really. Well, I probably wouldn't be good for you if you had digested any of me, but that's actually quite an interesting question. Laz, write down that we need to feed some of me to someone. I want to see what it does. Lizzie's like, I've already tried it. It's not pretty. He's like, you win. I didn't tell you because, kind of, feeding some part of you to someone else is not necessarily something you would tell someone. He's like, just bring me the report later. I'm interested in what it did. He's like, very well. I'll get the folder.
All of this is just very, very weird to me. So how did I end up here? Did I just appear?
We were working in the workroom. Well, me and Laz were working in the workroom, and we turned around and we were working on an experiment, and there's a light. The experiment we weren't working on had nothing to do with light. We turned around and you were standing there, for the most part. Of course, when you appeared, you knocked something over, causing a small electrical discharge. We were afraid it electrocuted you. And then you passed out, and you've been asleep for 5 days. However, I've seen that type of teleportation before, from the guildmaster himself, Ral. So that's how I knew you were a planeswalker.
Guild?
Oh yes, I'm part of the Izzet Guild. We are like scientists, inventors, experimenters. Typically we build, test, and improve things in the city of Ravnica.
So I raise my eyebrows in like a kind of way, because the science and everything very intriguing. And then Ravnica?
Yes. That's only the second time I've mentioned it, but yes. Well, it's the city, and we also named our plane after it, but Ravnica. And he's like, you've seen out the windows before.
Yes.
After you count to the 6th spire is when this particular section of Izzet territory ends. And he's like, each spire is about, I want to say about 7.62 kilometers. And he's looking, you're looking out the window and you're looking at the spires, which you thought were kind of close together, but he just says they're 7.62 kilometers apart from one another. So they're a lot bigger than you thought they were.
Yeah.
He's like, and this is just the Izzet section of the city, or one of the Izzet sections of the city. This is where we store most of the power to run most of the magical lighting in most of the city.
Interesting. So what do I do from here?
Well, that's good news is I know exactly what to do with you. I need to take you to Ceres. And she will get you checked in, so to speak.
Ceres is?
Ceres is of the Azorius Guild, and she is our representative, our planeswalker representative for the Izzet section.
Okay. Alright. Well, let's go.
Oh, yes. Do wait one moment. I'm almost done with my test.
Is there anything I can do to help?
Why, yes. And then, he's like, Laz, show him how to help. And then, Laz is like, right this way, and you follow Laz. You want to follow Laz the goblin?
Mm-hmm.
So Laz takes you to the corner between, or to the back of the room between the two female goblins, Lizzie and Gizzy. Laz is the male goblin. And there's a table full of things, and he's like, "You need help, because then it'll only take one trip." He's like, "Here," and he picks up these two weird, almost like Tesla coil kind of things, and he hands you one. You take it.
Yeah.
You go to take it, and then he lets go, and you almost drop it because it's heavy, and he's like, "Oh, watch it! Be careful! That thing is hard to make." And then he picks the other one up and things it over his shoulder, and then grabs the other one, and he's like, "Okay, so how do you like heights?"
Heights are okay.
Okay, come with me. And then
Follow.
you go out that door. It was the exit door, and then you go. Once you get out the door, by the way, you get out into the open, and this lab is like basically sitting on the top of a spire. And now that you're out here, as far as you can see, like skyline, it's just buildings. Like giant buildings, spires, as far as the eye can see. Like I said, it's still kind of dark. But that's probably, you assume, is because of the storm overcast. But now that you're outside, it's not raining. But there is quite a lot of lightning striking those spires still. And then he's like, "Come, come!" And then he follows you, and he's going around the front of the building on the railing.
I follow.
And then he gets to a ladder, and then he starts going up the ladder.
Alright. Climb the ladder.
You get onto the ladder, and you get to the top, and there are 3 more large, like, electrical tubes similar to inside the lab. But now that you're up here, you can see that they all funnel down into that ball that was in the lab.
Okay.
And he's like, "First, we have to turn it off." And he's like, "To do that, well, normally I would use magic, but since you're here, it makes it a little easier. Just go down there," and he points down to the other end, and there's a switch. And he's like, "We just gotta pull it at the same time. It's not that hard. There's about a 5 seconds interval between the two of us. And then make sure you take that conductor with you. And then after we turn it off, you're just going to reach up, twist it to the right twice, and then pull it out." And there's like, he shows you, like, right above him is like a word, basically what you have in your hand. But the difference between the one in your hand and the one on the wall has almost no fluid in it. The one he's got, both of you have, has full fluid. So you're going to twist it to the right twice, pull it out, put the new one in, twist it to the left twice, and then turn the switch back on. Of course, you have to wait till we both put it in to turn the switch back on. And he's like,
"Sorry."
"Yeah, go. And then the reason I was saying you're afraid of heights, because you've now gone up, and like the sheer drop off of this building, which is like probably taller than the tallest building in Neverwinter.
So I'm not afraid of heights, but falling is another issue.
He's like, "Well, there's railings. Just grab the railing. You should be fine. As long as a drake doesn't fly through, we'll be just fine."
Drake?
Drake.
Dragon?
No. No. Dragons only are in the Badlands. Drakes are they're still pretty big, but they're not that big. And we don't get them that often. You should be just fine. There are a few that eat lightning, and they like to stick around, but there are none out today.
Alright. Sounds good.
So, basically you're walking across a catwalk that kind of goes over a sheer drop in between it to the other side. To another conductor.
Alright, I go over to it.
This is all just really much RP flavor. So, y'all turn it off. It was pretty easy to understand what you were doing. You put it back in, you turn it on. He comes back, he's like, "There you go, now you're a novice in thermal conductors."
Sounds fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then
All right.
they take you back down, and you go inside the lab, and y'all are there for about a good 2-3 more hours, and then he's while you're there, you're actually starting to understand what they're doing. And you're shocked that you're picking up on this so quickly, because normally, like, even you're a studious character. You normally, like, would need some, some material before you can start studying things to be smart at it. But you're picking up on what they're doing. They're basically trying to make the energy stores more efficient and use less power. And they're doing tests on different types of fuel, and that's why all the different, like, giant spire inside the lab spires different liquid and different thermal conductors. So, but you pick up on a lot of the jargon. You're like, man, if they did a pop quiz on this, I'd fucking pass it.
Nice. I kind of speak up and say, you could bypass that chameleon circuit by switching over to the binary. Binary.
Yeah, jargon. And then Malik's like, that might work. Laz, write that down. We have to try that later. That's the end of my test.
It's just something I watched on a scroll back home.
Very interesting. You pick up quite easily on stuff. Do come, after I hand you off to Sarah's, do come back. I could use your help in here. Of course, everyone here is quite smart, but it always helps to have a different pair of eyes on things.
Oh,
well, I'd say eyes, but I don't really use eyes to see.
No, I have eyes.
Yes.
You don't have eyes?
Don't ask how I see. It's very complicated. And if you want to pry, he'll explain it to you, but he said it was complicated.
Go ahead.
Alright, he basically gives you a kind of like a very quick explanation of how his true blind sight works. Is a combination of magical echolocation with with infrared capability.
Okay.
That's just the short and sweet of how he works. I'm just trying to, but he does it in a lot more technical jargon than I can care to think up and tell you right now.
I understand.
But your character's like, oh, fascinating.
Great Scott! Fascinating.
It's like, yes. Now, come with me. And then I'll go back out this way, but instead of going around to the right side of the building, you go around to the left, and then there's another door, and you go in that door, and it's just a staircase down a little bit of the ways. And then they'll turn around to the left, follow the hallway around to the left after you get down, and it opens up into a normal room. This seems to be more of a normal room. It's got like a marble floor with, or stone floor with, the metal walls still, because it looks like the whole thing is built on top of this stone. The whole lab is all metal, basically, and is built on top of this stone floor here. And he takes you to the corner, and he's like, you'll enter, like, basically a lift. You know what a lift is. Lifts are used, but this one is obviously way more technologically advanced than something you've seen in Neverwinter. You get in it, and electricity sparks, and little gear will start triggering, and the lift goes down several stories, maybe 4 or 5 stories, and they'll exit out into a pure, pristine white room. You can tell this one is made of white polished stone. The walls are white polished stone. Everything is ungodly sanitary. And He's like, right this way, and he follows you, and you go through the doors. There's nothing really defining features of this particular part of the room. You go through the doors, and then on the other side of the doors is a lab. And there's a whole bunch of people in lab coats of varying races. You see humans, there's a few elves, you see more goblins. You see these weird creatures that have fins. You can only assume they're some form of mer person? Because, you're a studious type. You've probably heard stories of aquatic species.
People. Yeah. The merfolk.
Merfolk, so. And then, as you and Malik are walking through, everyone's turning around going, oh, Malik, good morning. Go, good morning. Go, good morning. He's like, oh, yes, morning. Someone's like, did you do the jargon? And he's like, oh, yes, it's with the jargon. And yeah, walking through.
A lot of jargon.
Yeah, a lot of jargon. That's all I can tell you. Because I mean, I could sit here and come up with a whole bunch of medical and scientific mumbo jumbo to spout at you, but all of it's pretty much going to be magical scientific theory. So.
Right.
And whereas the lab up above seemed to have been more like elemental electrical based, this one seems to be more. They seem to be studying more like, I want to say, applications, whereas before they were studying like efficiency. Here is be more like applying certain things. Like guy over here is like seeing how strong a certain alloy metal is compared to certain acids. Guy over here is doing something similar. But then as you get through to the back, you go through one more set of doors, and you open up to a room with a bunch of people in it wearing. These people, though, are different from the other before. There's, along with the people in the lab coats, there's some people in the chairs that seem to be wearing armor that you've never seen before. Like they've been from somewhere else. And, like this one person over here, for, you as a player, this person looks like a samurai. This person over here looks like a Viking. This person here over here looks like a metal man. This guy would be from Eberron. He's a Warforged. But basically, this is a room of. Yeah, you don't know what Warforged are. Basically, Malik explains that this is where we study planeswalkers. All these people, gentlemen here, are planeswalkers. Being examined and cataloged, I guess you could say.
Who's the metal man?
Oh, he's a Warforged from a place called Eberron. Apparently it's got some advancements in science and technology like we do here, but not quite as advanced. He's basically a metal man with a soul. It's quite interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, very, very interesting.
Yes. We make robotics all the time, but they don't have a soul. That's quite interesting that it has one.
Huh. So, what do we do here?
Well, y'all are walking through all the people getting tested, and you come up to someone who's, you've been around 2 or 3 labs. They hold the same posture as Malik does. They're clearly in charge, and it's seems to be a merfolk woman in a full, pretty much Azorius garb, which is blue robes. But they have basically a lab coat thrown over them, but it's like a red and blue lab coat with Izzet symbol on the back of it, and they're just like answering questions and signing paperwork back and forth, and then Malik walks up and says, Saris, I've brought you a planeswalker. He's like, put it with the others. And she's like, no. This one needs to be checked in. She's like, really? That's interesting. A new one. So, where are you from?
From Faerun.
Faerun?
City called Neverwinter.
I've heard of that one. We get a few of you from here from time to time. I don't even have to look that one up. So, thank you, Malik, for bringing him here. And then, he's like, oh, yes. He's like, do remember to stop by later after you get checked in. Just follow her. She'll get you checked in. I'm gonna go back up. Might try out that idea you gave me. And then he turned around and walked away.
Of course we will. Malik, one question.
Yes?
Where are my weapons that I would have came here with?
I forgot. He reaches into his pack, pulls out this little bag, and hands it to you. It's like, just open the bag, and it should open up about the size of your hand, and you could pull your weapons out of it.
Thank
Afterwards, the bag will disintegrate.
Oh, so it's like a limited bag of holding.
It's like a one-use bag of holding.
Oh. Thank you. And I'd kind of strap it to my belt.
You're welcome. Of course, it's the way it works is once you put something in it, if you completely empty it, the bag will die.
Okay.
So you technically have a bag of holding with special parameters where if you accidentally empty it, you kill the bag of holding.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You don't have to write that down right now, but
yeah. All right. I will remember that though.
Yeah. And then he's just like just listen to Saris and I'll be off. And then he turns around and walks back out the doors. And Saris is like, oh yes, well, we've got to get you checked in then. She pulls off her little Izzet lab coat and hangs it on a spike. And then she's like, and then someone walks up and is like, Saris, I need you to sign. It's like, I have to check this planeswalker in. You're gonna have to do it yourself. But, she's like, no buts. You know the rules. She's like, alright. I'll see what I can get him to do without you. And then the person runs off. He's like, quickly, this way before another one shows up. And then you go through another set of doors. Or we go through the door behind her desk. And it's, once you get through the door and she closes it, it's completely silent in here. She's like, yes, this is my silent place. He's like, yes. Because before up till now, it's just been noisy. You know, all these people running around in the lab and doing experiments and
I like silence.
She's like, yes. I have to take you to the check-in station and get you properly checked in and this is a point where she goes over some of the basics for you. She's like, see, Ravnica a few years ago recently had a war where an evil dragon planeswalker came through and brought an army of dead.
Oh.
And let me get to the good part. Up until that point, planeswalkers are not public knowledge. Only a very few knew of them. But basically, the dragon trapped a whole bunch of planeswalkers here on Ravnica with an artifact. And was trying to use that undead army to kill all the planeswalkers to absorb their power. Anyways, the planeswalkers defeated the army and the dragon. Long story short, along with the help of the Ravnicans, obviously. And now, planeswalkers are public knowledge. And, well, a few decades later, we were like, we could be a tourist center for planeswalkers. So, now, whenever there's a new planeswalker, it's brought to one of us planeswalker associates in whatever particular section you happen to be in the city, and we get you checked into the system. And before you ask, it is technically illegal to not be in the system and be a planeswalker on Ravnica. However, there is a leniency period, obviously. That way you can get checked in without being arrested.
Is 5 days that period?
She's like, oh, no, well...
I've been asleep for 5 days.
Again, there's a leniency period to it.
Okay. Gotcha.
I don't need to go into the details. Technically, they want you to do it as soon as possible, but as soon as possible kind of depends on the situation. In your case, You were out cold.
Yeah.
We couldn't really check you in because it requires you to be awake.
Gotcha. How strenuous or dangerous is the check-in process?
She's thinking. She's like, it shouldn't hurt you.
Okay.
She's like, unless, no, it shouldn't hurt you. I keep forgetting Andraste's not one of those. And then she waves her hand when she says that. And then she says, alright. The short and skinny of it is we can either walk, and you can view the scenery, and I can talk to you about Ravnica. Or we can teleport, and then walk less.
Teleporting's fine.
Teleporting's fine. Good. She's like, let me get my stuff together. She turns around and gathers up some paperwork and stuffs it in a little bag and like a little satchel. And she's like, over there, stand in the circle. And she points over to the side.
Alright, go stand in the circle.
There's a circle, and then she joins you shortly, and then she mumbers a few words, and little magical circles appear around her hands, and after a brief delay, both of you are teleported. And y'all are teleported to what appears to be so before, when you looked out, you saw skitty city skylines. Now where you're at, it's obviously sunny. So maybe it was just that area that was, overcast with the clouds. It looks like a central park. In the particular center you're in right now seems to be a large circular structure with a bunch of archways, each one having symbols, two of which you recognize. One is the Izzet and the Azorius symbol. The other ones your character hasn't recognized yet, and then run in a circle. And she's like, this is one of the miniature promenades. It's a small oasis of nature for people to enjoy.
I like it. It's pretty.
Yeah, pretty. And now that you're here, you see a whole bunch of other races you haven't seen when you were over there. Now you see some minotaurs, some weird creatures with large ears and a very large, long nose and tusks. They're pretty humanoid. You see some weird blue people that are rather tall, but really slender. You see a whole bunch of different.
I see some slender men.
Not really. You see Vidalcan, which tend to be kind of they normally average tall, but they're blue.
I gotcha. Trying to make it a little.
I got you. You're trying to be Slenderman. Hey! Don't make jokes like that. I'll make it a monster and make y'all fight it.
Oh God.
Don't make jokes like that. You will will it into creation.
Oh God.
You can add it as a boss fight.
Oh God.
I like making bosses now. Okay. Anyways, you're in this big. It's basically a big pavilion. All a bunch of people wearing different colors of clothes and stuff. It's just basically a large central park area with a bunch of trees and stuff. And in the very distance, you can see like buildings still in the skyline, but for the moment, it's a bunch of trees, like a park area. And she's like, "We'll be heading this way." She points towards the east, and y'all start walking towards the east. And if you want to ask her, your character wants to ask her any more questions, she's like, "I'm open for questions if you have any more."
No, I don't. I don't think I have any questions.
Okay, well then just fire the few, and then when we get to the office.
Actually, I do have one question. I haven't eaten in 5 days.
You'll get taken care of when we get to the office.
Okay. Right.
The office also doubles as a Planeswalker hotel. Best way to describe it.
All right.
It's got a lounge. You'll get some food. You'll be fed.
Food.
Yep. And then he's walking, and as y'all are walking, since you're still in the Central Park area, you see a shadow overhead, and having flashbacks of the dragon, you look up naturally, and you see some very large birds, but then you do a double take, and you're like, that's a flock of angels.
You have Asimar here?
Say what?
No,
not Asimar. Not Asimar. Angels. Like
no, I know that you're saying angels, but like character would be
see,
Asimar?
even if you've seen an Asimar, you've seen that they have like the radiant soul, the ability to sprout wings, whatnot.
Yeah.
These angels are
these
angels.
like actual like celestial angels?
Yes, these are angels. They have like wings, real wings, like on their back, not like energy wings.
Oh, okay.
And wearing, you can see red armor, and they appear to be armed, but they're not brandishing their weapons, and they appear to be flying in formation, heading also the same direction y'all are going.
Interesting. All of this is very, very interesting.
Yep. And then as
y'all like it.
You like it, yeah. Well,
I like it.
I always like to remind people that angels are a thing in Ravnica, and they are the fun police. So this is how I'm going to use it, to tell evil characters to stay in line. But y'all are headed through the Central Park area. While you're walking through Central Park area, you see, I'm assuming I don't know if you've ever seen a dryad, but there'll be some dryads here and there. You see some centaurs. Those are some things you'd be interested in.
Yeah. I think I would know about dryads.
But yeah, the dryads are the ones tending to the flowers tending to the flowers and trimming the hedges.
That's pretty normal.
Yes. Of the Central Park area.
Nothing out of the ordinary there.
No, but yeah. No, well, what's out of the ordinary is the sheer quantity of them. Normally, you're like, you see a dryad, you're like, it's a singular dryad for a forest. This is like, there's like 10 dryads trimming hedges, and then on the left side of the park, or the walkway, there's like 4 or 5 dryads tending to the flowers.
Oh. I look at Saris and I'm like, how so many dryads?
Oh, they're part of the Silencia conclave. They're all around the area.
I'm sorry, I'm just used to like 1 dryad per forester. Similar.
Yeah. That's the part that would throw you off. You're like, there's a lot of dryads. Because like
too many dryads.
Like what is it? Where's that dryad? How is it? Dryad. Where? What's it? NTG. Let me find the card. Wait. So. Let me find the dryad I want. There's this. Yeah, here it is. Save image. I'll show it to you because it's great.
Oh, man.
So, since I'm recording this, people are not seeing it. I'll send it to you first and then explain what this picture is. So, these dryads have formed their soul bonded tree into fucking horses and are riding them into patrol.
That's fucking cool as shit. That's cool as fuck, man.
Yeah, so, dryads are in number. here on Ravnica. So those are Dryad Knights. That's why I couldn't find it typing Dryad Warrior.
Alright. I think a Dryad deck sounds really cool.
Yeah. But yeah, that's, you don't really see these, but like Dryads, so
right.
There's a lot of them. There's more than you would normally think.
Right.
So as you reach...
I do want to say that while we're walking, I am kind of playing some music on my pan flute.
I'd say roll performance, but I'm just gonna say you're doing a pretty decent job. And then Saris is gonna surprise you and throw a ditty in that matches your song with her voice. Because she's a merfolk and she's a siren. Haha.
But I do have a +10 to performance, so.
Yeah, it'll help. So as y'all are walking, and people are kind of like, "Ooh, that's good work," because y'all are kind of duetting. Y'all get to the end of the promenade, and there's a bridge that goes across an expanse, and as soon as you get to where you can see over the expanse, the building you see across the bridge, which you assumed is maybe the same height as where you're at, but now that you made it to the expanse, that building that you thought was the same height as some of the ones you had seen in the distance, you get there and realize that's a spire that goes down like 200 to 300 more feet over this expanse. And this whole promenade is basically a small plateau built amongst a bunch of other buildings. And now that you're at this expanse, you look out over the expanse and you can see like huge man-made waterways, like a huge river. And you look out on the river and you can see galleons, and they look like fucking ants on the waterway. Like, so that waterway is huge and man-made
compared to all these ships.
Yeah, and how was it? I have the picture. I always show everyone this picture.
Oh, by the way, I did crit that performance check. By the way.
Oh, nice. I always show this picture. Right now as my recording is just a slideshow of Ravnican land, but this is what I'm going for, but not quite. But basically, you see how man-made the waterway is.
Yeah.
And if you look down at the bottom of that tower, those are galleons at the very bottom docked.
And they're so tiny.
Yeah. So you see that, but like, this isn't exactly what you see, but this is similar to what you see.
Right.
And if you're looking out around the waterway to the right, there seems to be a massive like church structure, and she's like, across the water from that church structure is the building I'll be taking you. And she points. It's the red roof building, and you see all the way down, and it's a red roof building. And you can assume when you get there, it's going to be even bigger because everything so far has been bigger. So, like, honestly, your character would be very culture shocked because as far as he can see, he sees city.
Right.
And, like, Neverwinter could probably fit just in the man-made island surrounded by that man-made water structure you see out.
Right.
So,
fuck.
She's taking you to a man-made island the size of Neverwinter, and you just left a Central Park area probably half the size of Neverwinter. And the Izzet section before was even bigger than Neverwinter. And you remember, y'all teleported from the Izzet section to this promenade, so you didn't even get to see how far away those two places were.
How big is this place?
Just like what? The city or Ravnica itself?
Yes.
Yes. Well, it's confusing because since we named the plane after the biggest city structure. But Ravnica, the plane, is basically completely covered in city structure. Even the Badlands have city ruins. And then you take 2 seconds to comprehend that she just told you that the planet is an ecumenopolis. Like Coruscant.
Oh yeah, like it's one giant city.
Yep.
Alright then.
And then like the lakes and seas and stuff are pretty much under a lot of the city. So like all these man-made structures will either flow into the actual oceans and rivers under the city or into more man-made structures. Or architectural, you know, basically everything here has been architecturally, you know, made. And it is baffling for anyone who's never seen something like this.
Baffling would be an accurate word.
Yes. So like you're like missing a few notes. I'm just kidding. You had a perfect performance check. You're not missing any notes. You're just forgetting to sing.
Yeah.
Because you're like, holy shit, this place is huge. Strumming perfectly on your lute. So you get across this bridge, which by the way is about 30 foot wide and goes out like y'all are walking across the bridge for about a good 10 minutes before you get to the other side. You get around the other side and you start walking down a spiral. There's this whole spiral like walkway going down. And as you're walking down, you seem to enter in kind of like a merchant. This whole spiral going down to the waterfront seems to be kind of like a merchant square. You've got a whole bunch of different people peddling wares. You got goblins peddling wares. There's some minotaurs selling some stuff. Humans, elves. You're getting around to one corner. You get to this one stall. There's a guy there. He's very pale, wearing white and black robes, and he's going, "Get your fresh blood here. Get your fresh blood."
Fresh blood?
She's like, "Oh yes, that's just an Orzavian vampire selling his wares."
All right.
And then yeah, you'll keep going around, and you come up with some commotion, and then as you get closer to the commotion, you figure out that seems to be some sort of, you know, a street performance. And when you go to see who's performing, you see a gentleman wearing very almost skimpy, but not intentionally skimpy, with tattoos and lots of piercings. He's juggling axes and throwing them at his compatriot who's on a spinning wheel, dressed similar, and the wheel is being turned by little devils. And everyone's cheering him on as he's throwing the axes and narrowly missing his compatriot. And then people are putting a little money in his little performer hat.
I'll drop a gold down in there.
Sounds good. Of course, now that you're dropping gold into the little money thing, you look down, notice that your gold's completely different from all the money inside the box. Yep.
I still leave it.
Sounds good.
I'm sure there's some kind of exchanging place.
There will be out of character, but she's like, "Oh, fancy the street performers." Well, as long as you don't go too far down the Rakdos loophole, this stuff is pretty entertaining.
Rakdos loophole?
Rakdos loophole. I say loophole, but it's more like the hellhole, quite literally. They handle entertainment here in Ravnica, from your modest country clubs and you know, hangouts to all the way to carnival and the, you know, and even further down to the, I want to say, people who enjoy watching people get tortured or enjoy being tortured. But that's stuff you have to sign up for, and stuff that I'm not interested in.
Alright, yeah, no, me neither. Alright. Continue walking.
Yep, continue walking. She
How
explains
far
that.
away is this place?
Oh yeah, y'all are like you walked across a bridge to a man-made island, and this loop that spirals down to the waterfront, you assume goes around the entire man-made island before you hit the waterfront. Okay. So by the time you get done walking around this loop, you're now at the waterfront, and you can see across the waterway that massive church structure is now like a gargantuan church structure. You know, stained glass, very opulent Gothic spires, and of course, you know, as Magic the Gathering playing, it's an Orzhova church across the street, across the waterway. You could ask a question about that. I could tell you what they do.
Yeah, I'll ask that question.
She's like, oh, that's an Orzhova church / bank.
Church / bank. Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting. Where I'm from, we normally keep finances out of our places of worship.
I'm not going to get into exactly what they worship because I don't even know. But if you need money or you're banking, you go to the Orzhova. If you want to open a shop, you have to go to the Orzhova. If you want to, well, do anything that requires any form of finance, you go to the Orzhova.
All right then.
And one thing to note is that across the street or across the waterway, you would be able to see them from this far away, even though the waterway it's a pretty decent sized river. But you see, like, at first you thought they were statues guarding the door, which of course is a massive door. So you thought they were massive statues, equally opulent, right? But then one of them moves. So there are two giants wearing full armor guarding the entrance to the Orzhova church.
You guys take security pretty seriously, don't you?
Well, the Orzhova do. You should hate to see their debt collectors.
Oh, yeah, I don't look forward to that.
Yes, to make sure you pay them back.
Or
if you owe them too much, well, you have to owe quite a lot for them to actually take your soul like they used to.
Soul taking?
Not quite. More like soul enslavement.
Oh.
It's more like if you can't pay it off in your lifetime, you pay it off in your unlifetime.
I mean, that makes sense.
Well, it does until your soul gets worked to the point where it's basically numb before it finally gets to go to rest.
Shit.
Depending on how much you owe, obviously.
Right.
But, you know, they were sorted out right before the war started, so a lot of it's been reformed quite substantially. Now you have to owe a significant portion for something like that to happen.
Alright.
Of course, you've seen merfolk, so I can't... This is normally where I would tell the other characters, oh, merfolk, but she's a merfolk, taking you. So...
Right.
You weren't anywhere near the Golgari, so you don't get to see no zombies or liches. Pretty much you're walking around the waterway, and you're coming up on the said building that she originally talked about. It's quite massive. the way I always try to explain this building to people is it's my own custom building, but the front walkway up to it, similar to the Washington Monument, where it's like kind of Greek inspired.
Yeah.
But then it has like a Gothic, like almost like roof towers, kind of like if you were to combine the Greek aesthetic with the Gothic aesthetic, is what this building looks like.
Cool.
Yeah. And basically you walk up past the pillars, and then she's actually takes you up to the front desk, and she's like, I've got a new planeswalker to check in, and she flashes her badge, and she gives her names, and she's like, oh yes, and then the person rummages through a little box, and she's like, fill out the paperwork, and she starts writing it down. She's like, oh, I don't know your name.
My name's Sean, by the way.
Oh, Sean, and then you give her last name. Or, well, actually, no, you just have to write Sean. I forget. She writes Sean. She writes Sean, and then she hands her back to paper. She fills out some paperwork on her own and flips through a few pages, writes some more stuff down, flips through some more pages, writes some stuff down. And, this goes on for about a few minutes. Oh, by the way, while she's writing, you're looking at the writing, because before when Malik and them were talking, they were just talking, so you could hear them.
Right.
But you're noticing that you don't know what any of the words written are. So, like, you don't understand the written language.
So they don't write common.
Their common writing is different from spoken.
They don't write my common writing.
Correct. And then after she gets done, she hands the little clipboard back to the lady, and then the lady hands you a little pass. It's basically a lanyard. She's like, please put this on, and don't lose it.
Alright, I put it on, and I put it on, and I do my best to not lose it.
The one side of the lanyard is like all white, and the other side of the lanyard is oh man, I forgot, blue. I think it said it was blue last time. I'm now forgetting the colors. I said this lanyard.
Oh no.
It's either blue or green. I forgot which color, because like it changes. The backside of it changes to a different color when you've been checked in, and it was like blue to green or green to blue, and I don't remember. So it was one of those. I'll have to go back and listen to my other session zeros to remember. But she brings you to the front door, and there seems to be one of these out of character. You've played Magic the Gathering. It's a Luxodon, but one of these elephant people I described to you earlier.
Uh-huh.
And he says, "Welcome," and then he opens the door, and y'all go in. And when you walk in, it's 5-star hotel lobby, but armed guards at every exit.
Oh, beautiful and scary at the same time. All right, just don't do anything stupid, Sean.
Pretty much. She's like, we do have some issues with some planeswalkers. They tend to be rowdy. Because, they're not from here.
Right. Well, I would prefer a room away from them.
Well, we normally sort those ones with their own kind, or, well, if they refuse to cooperate, they are apprehended, locked up, depending on crime, they're dealt with.
Yeah, I gotcha. I understand.
She's like, you follow her, you go to the back of the room, you walk up a staircase, and when you get to the top of the staircase, it's a big room, and off to the right is like a marbled off floor section with a bench, and currently on the bench, two creatures you recognize. On the very far end of the bench seems to be an elven woman, and on the very opposite end of the bench seems to be a tiefling sitting there. And she's like, she stands off to the side of the said marbled thing, and then past the marble area with the benched off area, it looks like a large lobby with a bunch of people similar to how he was at the lab. A whole bunch of people wearing different armors from different regions and different areas. And it basically looks like a nightclub for the most part. And there's a live performance on. And it's a, you look out on the live performance, and from the gentleman to your right sitting at the desk is obviously a tiefling. The person out on the stage is a demon, hooves and all, wearing a three-piece suit, playing a brass instrument, and it is the smoothest jazz you have ever heard.
Sean is very happy right now. He loves jazz. Jazz is his favorite style of music.
She's like, it looks like Draximos is playing today. He's got a way with the brass.
And I kind of.
And she's like,
I attempt to pick the same tune that he's playing on my lute.
Sounds pretty good.
That was a 19.
Oh, you're keeping up with it pretty good. You're doing a pretty good rendition of it. And while you're copying that down, you're also like writing it down on a piece of paper so you can save it for later. This is his own tune. But she's like, please step through this way, and she motions for you to step through into the marbled area.
All right.
She's like, please sit down on the bench and wait till your name is called, and then after that, just follow instructions, and we'll get you checked in. Shouldn't take more than a few hours. Afterwards, you get your food.
Oh, food.
She's like, if you really must have something now, she reaches into her pocket and hands like what would be an onigiri, except it's a seaweed wrap. It's instead of like being wrapped in rice, it's wrapped in seaweed. She's like, how are you about fish?
Ooh.
She's like,
I love fish.
Yeah. She hands you this little seaweed wrap. She's like, that should hold you over. And then she gives you a small flask of water. If you're really hungry now.
Thank you so much. It's been 5 days or more.
And she motions for you to get through onto the bench. And she just stands there while she motions for you to sit down.
I sit down.
Okay, good. You go and sit down. You notice that she doesn't cross the threshold. And she's like I said, just wait there and you'll be good. And now that you've crossed the threshold and sat down, at first you thought this was a glass separating you and the nightclubish area. But now that you're sitting here looking at it, it's not glass. It appears to be some form of a magical barrier. And then you're proficient. You're a bard. When you walked through the threshold, you felt a little funny.
Felt a little funny.
Yes. And you turn and look at Saris with questioning gaze. She's like, she puts her hand up and she touches a barrier. She's like, only planeswalkers and people of a higher rank than me can go through the barrier. At least for the marbled area. I could actually go and join them down there for the nightclub, but I have work to do. So she's like, I'll be seeing you. And then she leaves, and you're sitting on the bench. And as you're sitting on the bench, more people show up at the bench. While you're sitting there on the bench, the tiefling kind of yells at, "Who's there?" And then looks around, and no one said anything. Or who was that? Basically, like someone was talking to him, and then he sits back down.
Yeah.
He's got some things going on. Anyways, while you're sitting there enjoying the music, eating your little, basically it's onigiri, kind of a sushi roll thing.
Yeah.
It's pretty good, by the way. And playing your little lute, which you're playing pretty good on the lute, but you would think messing with his performance. So you're assuming that people on the other side of the barrier can't hear you on this side of the barrier, but you can hear them.
Okay.
While you're sitting there strumming, you're bard, so you're proficient in magic. You feel a tug, kind of like on the back of your head, while you're sitting there at some point. Do you want to resist it?
No.
No. Alright, well, the tug just is kind of annoying for a few minutes. Just kind of someone's tugging on you. And then, it goes away after that. And then, you're sitting there enjoying music for a little while longer. The elven woman gets called back. That tiefling gets called back. And then, finally, a gentleman walks out wearing full armor. And remember, you had only given Ceres your first name. The gentleman walks out in full armor, gives you your full name, and says, "Please report to the back."
All right. I don't know how they know my full name, but okay.
Yep. And you walk up to the gentleman. He says, "Please follow the arrow." And then when you walk to the back room, there's an arrow that leads you around to the right, to the left. And it comes to a door with different scripts written on it. And you scanning the script, and in the languages you know how to read, including your common, you see, "Please knock."
I knock.
You knocked. The door opens, and across the door, you see a lady dressed in white and black robes with silver and blue bracelets and a choker on, and she has a circlet in her hair. She has a heterochromia. She has one eye that's red, one eye is blue. She smiles at you, and she's quite pale, and she has a very teethy smile. She's like, "Welcome, dearie. Please have a seat." She motions to the seat.
I take a seat.
You go and take a seat, and as you sit down and turn around, off to the left, sitting at a desk across from the desk, is a rather large, or, well, you assume she would also be tall, angel in blue and white robes with pauldrons, not pauldron, but greaves and gauntlets, but robes for the rest of it. But there's no hands on the bracers, basically. So she's sitting there writing. She's got what looks like those half glasses you use for reading, where you just look down to when you're yeah. She's got the folder open, and she's like, "Well, there's not much to say."
Spectacles.
Yeah, little half spectacles, and she's writing some stuff down, and then the person is like, "My name's Andraste, and this is a loon, and we're here to give you your 411 on being here." She's like, she goes over. There's really not a lot I need to tell you. You're quite a well-mannered person. She's like, the basic gist I have to tell you is, well, don't attack things unless they attack you. Because you're going to see some creatures from where you're from that you might think you should attack them. But I say hold off on that instinct until they attempt to attack you.
So don't attack lest you be attacked.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes, that's a good rule. I don't think I have to worry about much else. She's like, it was a quite unfortunate event, that dragon.
Yeah, last thing I remember is being blasted with fire from the dragon, and then a lot of electricity.
Although that distraction you used for your friends to get away was quite hilarious.
Huh? Oh.
She knows exactly she knows how you got you before you planeswalk. If you want to pry her, she could probably go back a few months onto what you've done before you got here. And
wow, seems you guys have been keeping
that was
pretty
me
good
tugging.
tabs on me.
That was me tugging on you earlier.
Oh, really?
Yes. Those people that aren't proficient with magic don't normally notice it.
What are you?
Oh, we just.
Trying to do?
It's just kind of a background check. It's the easiest way to check to make sure you're.
Okay.
And Eloon's like the angel speaks up. She's like, it's always good to see a bright and shining example of a normal citizen.
Thank you.
She's like, normally have to discourage people to pursue their. She puts her hands up, quotations, careers. And then but in your case, you should be able to find work as either an adventurer or an entertainer. Or even, well, you seem to be helping Malik with his problems over there. And then Eloon hands Andraste a little ball, and Andraste hits a button. And she goes to drop the ball. The ball makes it like 2 inches, and then wings sprout out of it, sort of like a snitch. It's a thopter, but it's just basically a little snitch. And it goes over to you, it scans you real quick. It comes back to Andraste, and she hands it to Eloon. And Eloon puts it on top of this piece of paper, hits the button again, and it makes a very splitting image of you out of paint all over the paper. And she waves her hand over it and it dries it. It's basically she basically took a photo of you, but it
right.
Instead of it being an actual photo, it painted you.
Right. Normally that would take about 30 minutes, give or take.
Yeah, but this thing did it in like 20 seconds.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Good.
I like that.
And then she waves her hand over it basically to dry it, and then like she casts a little spell, it dries it, and then she puts it in the folder, and she's like, you're pretty easy. Like I said, you're a good-natured individual. I don't have to really warn you about, illicit things, and don't try to hurt anyone. We're very diverse. Don't normally have too many issues around here. She's like, if you have any questions, now's the time to ask them.
So what exactly, or no, how do I planeswalk?
Well, that's something you have to bring up with the other planeswalkers. I hear it's a little bit different for each planeswalker, but they should be able to give you the nit and gritty of it. I can't.
Okay.
I mean, with my dealings with them, some of them can just do it at will. Some of them takes a few weeks to get it right. Some of them years, but normally, once they figure it out, they can do it about once or twice a day, depending on who they are. And then, but again, that's something you have to bring up with an actual planeswalker. Unfortunately, me and Eloon are not planeswalkers. We're just the head of checking them in to the system.
Alright. Okay.
Everyone comes through us. We don't get normally more than... Well, today has been quite busy. You would make 33. We normally do batches of 30. She's like,
Interesting.
we don't normally get more than 100 on a busy day. Because we get them from all over. I'm sure you quite understand that there are multitudes of planes.
Yeah.
Getting one from here and there.
I understand that.
It's kind of because of the beacon we have. Which, I don't know if you were paying attention during the War of the Spark, they created a beacon to kind of attract planeswalkers and it kind of became a double-edged sword, which is how they all got trapped there. They shut it down, but when they were like, we're gonna make Ravnica kind of a tourist trap for planeswalkers, they made a weaker version of it, so that when you planeswalk, it's kind of just like a little light that says, hey, come to Ravnica. So you don't have to listen to it. Like before, the beacon was like you really wanted to go to the beacon. Now it's just kind of like, hey. When you go to Planeswalk, it's just like, hey. Don't forget, you can stop by here.
Don't forget Ravnica's a thing.
Yeah.
Don't forget about
It's like every time you go to Planeswalk, a pop-up ad says, come to Ravnica, we have beer. Or, you know, like... So, yeah, it's basically...
the love that lasts a lifetime.
Yep.
Me love you long time.
Yeah, so
like herpes.
Yeah, because this is just kind of how I would. This is kind of how I would figure Ravnica would go into the future, because after the War of the Spark, they would be public knowledge planeswalkers, and I was like, what if Ravnica as a city just came together and was like, let's cater to planeswalkers. This is my whole. This whole campaign's based on that, combined with, you know, a bunch of things that I thought would be interesting to explore. But
I love it.
Yeah, they're basically just giving you the rundown, the laws, the things, you know, the 2 and 2. She's like she hands you basically a pamphlet with like all the laws, the laws.
The employee handbook.
The employee handbook for the most part. She's like, I don't actually normally hand out the employee handbooks, but only to those that I think might actually follow it.
Thank you. I'll definitely read this.
You don't really have. Well, I mean, it's more. If someone asks, I gave you one.
I stop her. I say, I will read it.
Okay. She's like, that's fine. I do enjoy a little bit of light reading myself. And then Elun's like, all right. She's like, she seals the your folder's all done. She seals it. She waves her hand at you, casts the spell, and you look down. The pass is glowing. Now the front of the pass has your likeness on it, and it has your name. And it has your occupation, which is adventurer / bard. And it has, like, you know, your height, your weight on the front, and on the back it changed to that color that I told you that I couldn't forgive her for not the blue to green or green to blue. It changed to the other color. And she's like, that is your Planeswalker pass. She goes, do not lose the Planeswalker pass. It must be with you at all times. If someone asks you for your Planeswalker pass, please make sure you show it to them. Well, I mean, as long as they're an official. If some random person asks you, you don't really have to. But, you know what I'm saying. If an official asks you about your Planeswalker pass, please show it to them. If you do not have it, there's a fine on top of a possible jail sentence depending on how long you've not had it. She says it would be about 200 of your gold to get a new pass.
Alright. I was about to ask what happens if I do lose it. Thank you. That answers my question.
Yes. She's like, well, there is a little bit of magic on it, so it's light magic. Of course, obviously it has your likeness, but the other magic on it, it's kind of like magically magnetic to you, but it can be overpowered by someone just yanking it and running down the street. But like if you were to drop it, it basically would go, hey, you dropped me, but it wouldn't say that. You would just notice that you dropped it because that's the enchantment.
There would be like a pop in my head, like, hey,
you dropped it, you know, like it'd be an instant, oh man, I forgot my wallet kind of situation.
Gotcha.
And then she's like other than that, enjoy your stay in Ravnica. Oh, I forgot. She's like, your first week of lodging will be free here at the lodging. Your first week is free. Afterwards, you'll have to pay to stay. She says that we do have an exchange rate for your gold into Xenos. You can handle that later.
Okay.
And then
All
she's
right.
like and then Andraste says after you leave here, you just follow the arrows, which will change direction now because you've magic. And then it'll lead you to a small lobby where you'll wait for everyone to get done in their batch. Where you can listen to the live entertainment and have more food and drink free of charge. And once we have a full batch, I'll show up and give you all one final, basically refresher course on what we just talked about. And then you'll be free to go. She's like, and these Elun's basically, she's an angel, so she's just like, it's just so good to see a good person. She's like, and Andraste is like, yeah, you always look so bright when you talk about good people. And then Elun's just like, quiet, Andraste, don't ruin it for me. And then Andraste gets up and points back towards the door and says, you can leave now. Like I said, just follow the arrow.
Alright, thank you.
No problem. Enjoy your stay.
Absolutely. Stand up and walk out.
Yep, and you follow the little arrow and it leads you to a, like you said, out into a little lobby. There's a bunch of tables. You notice an elf sitting at one and there's two elves. There's an elf sitting at one over in the corner, and then there's another elf sitting at a separate table by himself, drinking on some wine. There's only two people in there at the moment, but you pick a table. I'm assuming you'll take your own table and sit there and play the lute.
Yeah.
Well, as you sit down, basically a waiter, or in your case, a waitress will come up and ask you if you want anything to eat or drink.
Oh, yes, please.
She hands you a menu, and the menu is written in well, you start to read the menu and you're like, I can't read it, and then after a few seconds it changes to something you can read. So it's magical. And they got like, steak and potatoes, chicken, or it says something you don't know, but underneath it says tastes like steak and potatoes. And then or basically steak and potatoes. And then the next thing it says basically chicken with such and such. Because they wouldn't have they would have chickens and stuff, but stuff they would normally feed you would be like birds of paradise. Eat a birds of paradise. The magic card.
Right. Yeah.
So, there would be like those would be listed ingredients, so like common things you could eat over chicken and stuff like that. But it basically underneath it says basically tastes like this. For people from different places. You just pick something, I'm assuming, and then
Alright.
And then there's drinks, like wine, beer, ale, juice, tea, things like that. You just
I'll take an ale.
She gives an ale. She'll be right back, and then after a few minutes they bring it out, and then this is basically where your session 0 leaves off. Is y'all are gonna be here in this little lobby. But that's session 0 for you. That introduces you to Ravnica. My little take on how I'm doing everything.
I like it.
Yeah. Someone who plays Magic the Gathering, it helps a little bit when I go to explain things. I did have to really explain what the Azorius symbol looks like, what the Izzet symbol looks like. I just said it's an Izzet robe and an Azorius garb.
Right.
It's an Orzhova church. It's an Orzhova church. She's obviously used to be part of this. It's not Simic. The Rakdos people are dressed like Rakdos.
Rakdos.
But yeah. Did you like it? Did you enjoy it?
Yes, very much so.
Alright, now for the fun stuff.
Alright.
Fun stuff. I need to open up your character sheet again. What was I doing for your fun stuff?
I don't know.
I know. I gotta open pick up your character sheet so I can look at what I was going to do to you. Do character sheet. Boom. Maximize. So on your skills and your saving throws, just check all the boxes.
All of them.
Yep. And then you can add half your proficiency in anything you don't have expertise in, on top of your proficiency bonus.
Oh, nice.
So,
okay.
like, I don't know if you know how to do it, but you go to settings and you can type global modifiers. Yeah. Just make sure to update it every time your proficiency goes up. Right now it'll be 1, but when you go to 4, it'll be 2, and then 5 will be 2, and then 6 will be 3.
Right.
And then things you have expertise in, though, like I think you have expertise in performance, but you double.
Perception and performance.
Yeah. So those you just use double, but everything else you use 1.5. You're basically, your planeswalker ability is, you're smart as fuck. Which is why I said you were picking up on jargon that you had never heard before in your life. I kind of tried to. And
I like it.
yeah, and I'm gonna. That's what I could come up with right off the top of my head right now.
Right.
I'll probably give you a few more things. Like I might later on give you more languages, and then way later on I might give you more spell slots.
Ooh, all right.
Yeah. But right at the moment, having all of your skills, you have every skill.
All right.
You are skill monkey man.
Skill monkey man.
And saving throw man. That's already broken enough as it is, like right there off the top of the bat. I mean, it's simple, but you're jack of all trades, quite literally.
Yeah, literally. All right.
And like, I'm half tempted to let you redo your skilled feat for something else if you want. If you really want to.
Yeah.
Because I know
I might do that.
Yeah. If you want to, go ahead and switch the skill, or you can take the skilled feats you selected and make those expertise.
Can't remember which 3 I selected.
See, when I did mine, I wrote down what I selected underneath the skill.
Yeah, see, I should have.
So if you want, just pick 3 skills, and those will be expertise, and the rest of the skills are 1.5. Or you could just cash in the skilled feat for something else. Because like everyone has a planeswalk ability. Because you're a planeswalker. Planeswalkers have a planeswalker ability. Teferi is a time mage. You know, Karn can mimic metallurgy like no one's business. You know, Ralzeric can harness lightning storms. Jace is such a proficient mind mage that he describes other people's brains as delicate eggs.
Dude, Jace is like the bomb.
Yeah, I mean, so like, you know, planeswalker abilities. You have to have one. Your planeswalker ability is, you're literally the jack of all trades.
I love it. I think I'll go with the tough feat.
Alright, sounds good. Gives you some more HP.
In place of, yeah. Increases by amount equal to twice your level. Shit, so I gained 14?
Yeah.
Well, no, no, because that would have been at level 4.
No. It carries over. If you get it at level 4, it counts for all your levels.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so it goes back. It backtracks. Just like if you get a new Constitution level, it backtracks.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So like if you were to up your Constitution to 16, like all of a sudden, you would gain an extra 7 HP.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Increase by an amount equal to twice your level when you gain this feat. So there's 8 plus 2 for every level after.
Yeah.
Okay, Cool. So 8 plus 6, so that's still 14. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that with the tough feat.
Sounds good.
The skilled feat.
No problem. You gotta uncheck the lock to get rid of the skilled feat if you want an easy way. Oh, you got it. There you go.
Yeah.
But there you go. That's there's your character. How did you like it? You liked it? It was good. It was nice.
Like it. It's awesome. It's nice. It's awesome.
You basically were playing with Malik's baby?
Oh.
He'll find out it's gone later and find it. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
If not, he can always make another one.
True. Wait, so I licked his baby?
It's very non sentient. Well, it's sentient, but not like more like cat than it is
Gotcha.
like humanoid intelligence.
Right.
Yeah. Scientific method. What does it taste like? Lick. That's what I imagined went on. He was like, I wonder what it tastes like.
I love it.
Tastes like blueberries and acid, just like if you put your tongue on a battery.
I do like licking 9-volt batteries. I mean, personally, it's like I just like the that it gives you the little.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, I like it.
Well, that's good. I think I'm getting better at it. It's right at 2 hours almost. 1 hour and 57 minutes. There we go. Only took 2 hours.
Nice. So I want you to look at this other character that I made, like just for like shits and giggles. It's like crazy. Hang on a second.
All right.
Let me.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and end my recording here. So then I'll look at your little character.
All right.
Do. Stop recording.